All right, well, I think we're going to go ahead and get started here. It looks like we have 3 or 4 people virtually attending. Thank you all for joining us tonight. This is one of the best turnouts we've had since the start of the movement, so we really appreciate that. I see we got to talk loudly. This is the Northern Basins 2 public meeting for the Smart Sewer Program, which is with KC Water. I'm Drew Matrician. I do public outreach for the program, and I'm with Burns & McDonnell. With me tonight. Next slide. It was working. There we go. All right, so I've got with me tonight Brian Hess with KC Water. He's the Smart Sewer Division Head. I've also got Jim Cherney from SE3. Jim right here. He is going to be the project manager for this project. Deborah English with EAE is one of our design firms that worked on the project. And then Ed Eames with Dubois. Hi, Ed. Is another design professional on the project. And then Gene Millsap is our construction contractor with Havens. So just real quick on the meeting logistics, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted to KC Water's YouTube channel this week. We've also got a couple virtual attendees who might have questions that we'll answer at the end. There's going to be time for questions at the end, so please hold your questions until then. If you have real specific questions about your property, Jim or Deborah or Ed can answer those. There's some drawings up front, as you can see, and in the back, and we can really get into the details with those. So I think with that, what we hope that you'll get out of this meeting is a pretty good understanding of what the Smart Sewer Program is trying to do, what we're hoping to accomplish, learn about the challenges that KC Water is facing and the large investment we're making in the sewers, and then understand how this project is going to affect you and your neighborhood and your neighbors. And hopefully provide you with a chance to give us feedback on the project during construction, and know who to talk to if something comes up during the construction phase. So with that, I think I'll turn it over to Brian Hess.
Thank you, Drew. And again, thank you everybody for joining us today. We haven't had very many people turn out at public meetings, so this is a welcome surprise. Again, I'm Brian Hess. I'm the Smart Sewer Division Head with Kansas City Water. And I'll just give you a little bit of background about Kansas City and our water utility. We are made up of 3 utilities within KC Water, and that handles the drinking water, our wastewater, and our stormwater. And a lot of these projects that we do within KC Water is addressing obviously one of these project areas or utility areas, but in this case, this project's addressing our wastewater infrastructure. So Kansas City's sewer system is made up of a combined sewer system and a separate sanitary system or separate sewer system. And what that means is in the older part of town, the early built part of towns, they built pipes and tunnels to carry water and waste away. They just wanted to get it away. So those were combined together and mixed. And as the city built up, of course, lots of big things built up around them, and those systems were not separate. Nowadays, we're separating those systems out. And so wastewater travels in a certain set of pipes, stormwater travels in a certain set of pipes. The city itself has about 58 square miles of the combined sewer system. Like I said, most of that's in the older part of towns, dates back to 1857. And in newer sections, we started building those separate in the 1960s. So what we are dealing with on our combined sewer system is that it takes both the wastewater, so the sewage that comes from the house, and then also the stormwater that drains into the yards and inlets on the streets and other, anywhere that stormwater will go gets into these pipes. When it rains a whole lot, in normal flows, the wastewater will go to the treatment plants through those pipes. But when it rains a lot, we get that overwhelming of the pipes, and that what we call combined sewer overflow will occur when those mix, and it goes to the creeks and channels. So the smart sewer program is in place to help remedy that or minimize those types of overflow. And this is a depiction of how that works with the one pipe that has both water and wastewater in it. Normal wastewater flow will go this way to the treatment plant. And a dam here that makes sure that wastewater goes that direction. But when there's too much stormwater in the system, it'll overflow the dam, and that mix will go to a river. So that's how the combined sewer system works. In a separate sewer system, which is what we have in general in these areas of the Northland, that's stormwater all on a separate set of pipes. So it doesn't mix with the wastewater, which is a separate system going to the treatment facility. So that's what we have up here. But in totality, the city and the smart sewer programs dealing with both sets or both combinations of the combined system and a separate sanitary system. One of the things that I'll mention about the combined system, that rainwater mix of wastewater goes to our treatment plants, goes to our pump stations. So a lot of those will get overwhelmed as well when you have an excess amount of stormwater. In the separate systems,
I forgot about
that
my pick.
wastewater is going to the same
That's
treatment
even better.
facility. So as much as we can do to help reduce the overall volume of stormwater that goes to these places, we can have that capacity to treat and pump the sewage. So this is a depiction of the private public sewer system.
Is this a live meeting?
Yes.
So we got
I would have been there if I'd have been home.
pipe in the ground here, and so pipe here, this pipe will be wastewater. And we'll see that we've got some connections to the house. What we're doing in the separate systems is trying to minimize any stormwater that gets into the sanitary sewer system and keep it within the storm sewer system. In the older neighborhoods, and even in some of the newer neighborhoods, the connections that happen from storm sewer into sanitary sewer puts that burden on the treatment plants and the pump stations and the pipes downstream, when that water shouldn't necessarily be there. So this project that we're going to talk about more in detail tonight is about keeping that stormwater out of our sanitary sewer system. So some of the challenges that we're facing at KC Water is sewer overflows during wet weather. So I was talking about the combined sewers, even in the separate sewers. If the pipes get overwhelmed, it can back up, it can overflow, and we'll end up having a wet weather overflow in lots of cases. Something similar to this. We have a lot of aging infrastructure. This pipe here, it's brick. A lot of good craftsmanship back in the early 1900s, but that does deteriorate. We have to maintain it. Sewer backups I talked about, full water quality in the lakes and streams and rivers is what we're trying to address too, by keeping that wastewater out of our storm systems to try and keep those lakes and rivers clean. And of course, sewer rates. So in the past, the sewer rates had not kept up with our needs as far as being able to renew and fix the infrastructure to keep it up to standards. The smart sewer program is it's a program that we have in KC Water that we are using to basically correct and help prevent our overflow control or our combined sewer overflows in our system. So we have a consent decree that the EPA has handed down to Kansas City, and we're required to put in certain investments within our system to be able to address these stormwater into the wastewater mixing situation, and allows us to help minimize and make that public health and the streams and lakes and creeks around Kansas City better quality. We do a number of different types of projects to help advance that. And we do green infrastructure projects that helps us capture stormwater and keep it out of the pipe system for a certain amount of time, so that that flush or that mixing in the wastewater pipes get through. We do sewer separation, where we separate the storm sewers and the wastewater pipes in order to try and keep that mixing out of there. Sewer capacity improvement, so we upsize our sewer systems and build relief sewers in order to make sure the pipe sizes are enough to carry that flow. Inflow infiltration reduction, that's what this project that we're talking about today is about. That's where we go in and we bring the infrastructure back. We try and renew it as best we can. So we will do pipe lining in some of the sewers. We'll line manholes, we'll disconnect and make repairs to certain assets in our system, replacing manholes that have aged, crumbling, that sort of thing. We do treatment and pump station and plant improvement to try and be able to capture and hold and treat as much of that water in our system that we can, so that we're able to get it back into the rivers and creeks and streams without it being treated. Our total program cost at roughly $2.3 billion over a 25-year period. And that is based on a consent decree amendment that we had recently. This number was $4.7 billion, $4.6 billion. So we've been able to do some innovative things that include implementation of green. We're going to construct about 480 green acres or beyond that, actually, of green acres to be able to capture some of the stored water over the next couple of decades. So the idea is we're trying to make improvements to our systems to be able to capture and treat as much of the stormwater, so it's prevented from getting into our lakes and streams. This gives you kind of an indication of what we've done and how we've advanced the program. This is some of the stuff that we do on our combined sewer areas. Let's see, from 2010 when the program was implemented, 2040 when it's reevaluated, I guess you would say. We've got lots of different projects that are underway or been done. This line right here is what we've already accomplished on the side of the line. We've done a lot of I&I work in the system thus far. This project is another one to advance that goal of stormwater out of our separate sanitary sewer system. But you can see that there's still a long ways to go and lots of projects left to do. And our ultimate goal at KC Water is to try and meet our consent decree, but have a healthy environment for our Kansas City residents and all residents. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn over to Jim Turney, who's our project manager on this Northern Basins project. And he'll get into some more details about what, what this project means to the neighborhoods. And, in particular, a little bit later after a presentation, you can address any specific questions that you might have on a particular project, property and such.
Thank you, Brian. Again, my name is Jim Cherney. I work with SE3. I am working with the city as the project manager on this project. I know Drew had mentioned earlier that Deb and Ed are both here. They work with, Deb is with EAE and Deb is with EAE and Ed is with Dubois. They're the design professionals who did the design on this project. Unfortunately, this is a rather large project, so the slides aren't really going to be able to tell us a whole lot, and I highly encourage everybody who has questions to please look at the poster board or look at the plans. I have a feeling that most of the questions are going to be involved. Okay, I live at this house. What work is going to be done in my neighborhood? So we should be able to answer all of those questions. That probably have to be after this presentation. So just in the getting started, you can see where this is founded, northeast 132nd Street to 102nd Street, north and south, and Woodland Avenue to Collins Street to the east and west. So it's a very large area.
Jim, you can use that period, but about that.
This is two design projects that will essentially be one construction project. So really that means nothing to anybody here other than the two design professionals. One did the east, one did the west. Havens is the contractor. They're considering this all as just one big project. As I said a few minutes ago, this is a rather large project. We have 29,000 linear feet of sewer main. To put that in perspective, that's approximately 5 miles of sewer main that would be worked on. We have 150 service lateral connections that will be worked on as well, and 450 manholes. The type of work that will be done on these can vary. Some of the work is the CIPP lining where we'll have a liner go through the pipe to make the fixes. Some of the pipes are more damaged than that and will have to be dug up and physically repaired. And the same goes with manholes. Some of them can just be simply lined, which keeps the water from running into them from the outside. Some of them are old enough, damaged enough where they just need to be lifted out and a new one put in. In some cases, we may even have to do a little bit of relocation on some of those. Again, the plans will get into very specific information, more information than you guys probably want to know, but we've got it. This is the area to the east, and I apologize. Again, the slide is very hard to read, but it's a very large area. We're just trying to give you an idea of the bounds of the project. And this one is the west. Again, very large area, not quite as large as the east, but it still takes up a very big section, and of which this church was part of. And so again, the poster board will show a little better clarity on these slides. So what can you expect during construction? Well, first of all, there's going to be large equipment, noise, dusty conditions. There may be some temporary street sidewalk closures. Typically, we can keep the streets open, but it might be like a lane has to be closed. That's not a guarantee. There are some cases where the entire street will have to be closed, but we have to, dig a hole to actually replace sewer pipe. And then there will be some temporary service disruption. Any kind of disruption that will happen, the residents and the owners are supposed to be notified at least 72 hours in advance. So again, you guys will all be notified if and when your house is actually impacted. We do have a web page that you can certainly feel free to peruse. And once again, we're showing the contact details that Drew had. So with that, if anybody has any questions. Yes. So. That one, and,
Hey, Jim, can you repeat the question out loud?
oh, she had asked about the temporary service disruption with that include toilets. The answer to that, yes, it will. How long will that last? It shouldn't be very long. Typically, they can go in and do their work and get out and everything can back up. But again, that just depends on the type of work that's being done. Likely if there's gonna be sewer disruptions like that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Gene, that would be,
Let me jump in here, because it's gonna be, basically, if we do any work, you know, like that, we'll be notified. But it'll be on a very short basis, it won't be able to use facilities or anything. Sometimes if it's gonna be, if there's an extenuating circumstance where we need to do something, might ask you not to run the washer or something for a little bit. Yeah, but it should be, it'll be very, very minimal.
Okay, it's not like we're gonna have to go somewhere.
No, not at all.
Thank you.
Hey, Gene, why don't you come on up here in case other questions? Can address those. Anybody else have other questions? John?
Jim, why don't you talk about the Texas technologies that the city is using and why we're using those technologies?
so the
What the city
trenches,
will see,
what's that?
and what the citizens will see.
So what the citizens will see would be like it's a type of liner that they're able to go in from one manhole to the other. What that does is it allows us to correct the deficiencies in the lines without having to actually dig anything up. 40 years ago, if we had these same issues, we would literally have backhoes in the street, pipes coming out, new pipes coming in. We now have the technology where we don't have to do that.
So what it boils down to is that a pipe liner is pulled through from one manhole to the next. It's inflated from the inside. It hardens in place. And then the services, once it's hardened and cut off at the manholes, a track goes through and is able to cut out the services for those that are connected to that pipe. That allows us to do what Jim was talking about, make that pipe new again without having to dig up everything that is above it to get to it. So that's what we call trenchless technologies. There's also means of doing that even on sewer lateral connections. So where a house is connected into a main pipe, those can be lined, not as part of this project, don't believe, but in some cases that's done as well. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I understand you're gonna put a liner in to fix that. What about these storm drains that have been leaking for God knows how long? And it's caused driveways to fall, sidewalks to fall. Is that all gonna be taken care of, or you're just gonna put the liner in and leak the rest of them?
No, there's gonna be, in cases like that where the sanitary system is causing problems, then, I think we've got general areas where we're gonna have to dig down and repair. So if we've seen a cause that is related to that as part of the project, that may be the case. If you have something in particular, certainly point that out to one of us. Yeah.
I'm over Heights, and basically our stormwater local is a ditch. Is that going to be replaced or repaired? Or
Not as part of this project now.
how far into the yard people are you going to be placing that pipe? It's gonna come from the city part.
Right.
Like the water lines, they only went to a certain spot, and then you're responsible for everything from your house out to that spot. So how far into somebody's property would that line go to?
typically that goes to the right of way line, as the water. line.
Just the right of way,
Correct.
like
Yeah.
under the sidewalk,
Yep.
3 feet into
So let them
wherever
put
the
back
water
a curve in there.
Yeah.
system is now. I mean, my meter is out in the yard, like right next to the sidewalk, which means that my line that goes to the meter is mine, from the meter to the, where is yours.
Correct.
Same type of, same, close to that same area.
Yep. And then in the case where the sewer pipe would be in between houses, it would be in what's called an easement. And the lateral replacement would be to that easement line. typically.
And just so you're aware too, we have done a lot of investigation to this entire area that is shown as part of this project. So as that investigation unfolded, the design professionals and our program team have identified the worst areas that we need to fix. So we're not replacing or doing repairs to the entirety of this area that's shown here, but various places in that area that we identified as needing to be replaced or fixed or brought up to standards.
So you know tonight where those places are.
Yes, the plans that we have on the back tables back there,
Yeah.
we can look at where your property is and let
And
you
then
know.
let you know that's where it's
Yeah.
gonna be a problem
Correct,
or not.
Right.
correct, yes.
And honestly, I've already had a couple people call me to ask, hey, I'm at this address, is anything going on here? I can look at plans and say, nope.
So
Not
in
right.
general, though, that doesn't mean that up the street, there's not gonna be some line that will be repaired or dug up or replaced. And that could affect any number of people here if they're using that route, road closure, sidewalk closure, or something along those lines.
Right. As far as going to get the property, you know that. okay?
Correct. Yes,
So on the orange PVC piping on the, up there on Carapat now, on the big schools, is that part of the deal?
no,
Okay, that's something else.
correct.
Gotcha.
We have some questions.
So the website has schedule 5 miles to 14 months to make it pretty aggressive. I don't know how big, in general, how big an area you're working on the time, but there's. How visible construction schedule.
Might have to hunt to folks who keep up with the webpage, this.
Well, we can include as much information as the team can keep up with. You're right, they are moving quickly and sometimes that information doesn't always get passed down. We can give you a general idea tonight about, I think, do they have the construction schedule ready? Kind of knowing the order of,
We're basically
go from east to west.
work our way from north to south. But the one thing you need to understand, as far as like construction equipment and stuff here, what you're gonna see mainly in this project is gonna be larger van body trucks, like moving trucks. There'll be those type of trucks that do for the lining. And then, what you'll see there when they're lining the line is there'll be out of the other manhole that they're working out of, there'll be a nozzle setting up out where you see steam blowing. And so they're lining that, and it's usually a 1 day on that line is what, they'll do 1 to 2 lines a day, depending on how long it took. Sometimes it takes a little longer. But mainly what you're gonna see around here is just van body trucks, trailers, behind pickups for, you'll see camera trucks and everything. They're in there looking and it's mainly just gonna be a lot of pickups that are in your area for a day, maybe 2, and then be gone. Now, if you happen to see some small excavating equipment come in, that means there's gonna be a repair somewhere or maybe a manhole replacement, and those are usually 1-2 day projects, and then they're cleaned up and gone.
Got a couple questions over this way. Sure. Go ahead, sir.
Both parts said that, you're restoring the lateral connection.
Active connection, yes, where necessary.
There's 150, I think,
Yeah.
that were identified as needed.
Down camera, we know which connections need to be repaired, so can you get this information?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Parallel to the show. Two streets. There is a series of men. Or storm. Working on those, are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
We may have to have you point that out to us here. We may need you to point that out to us in a few minutes. That way we can see it. Uh-huh.
It's energy. He's got through doing the year project in on the. Of course, it had to get all the things set. Because that's where the tolls were, and that's where it was. Oh, which I call them the big. Drain boxes from each neighbor, and reach out from that. When I get it, it's down, put that in there at the end.
We'll have to look at specifics on the plans to see. So if you would stick around after we get done talking here, then we'll be able to look in particular about what you're talking about.
Because everything did allow it because they're putting stuff back on that.
Well, it needs,
Very well.
you know, sanitary, no storage.
Right. But we need to be sure that what he's talking about is not sanitary storm. Did you have a question? What is it?
I've lived in my house for 12 years.
Uh-huh.
I put up with flooding in my backyard for 12 years. All the water from 110th on, and maybe be further up, from 110th on Norfolk comes down. Why they did it this way, I don't know, but it goes down behind the trees. You can't see it from the street. It's nicely covered. And it comes down. Well, used to, there was kind of a pool up there, and I think it had a drain. Well, that's all flattened out now. All the water comes to my yard, and I've got pictures to show it. The water is probably from up on the upper stage to my deck. That floods to my deck
Okay.
every time I have heavy rain.
I will.
I had the city come in, and I won't comment on the person. They told me that that's my problem. No, it's not my problem, because the city has got all the water drained. I have picked up dirty diapers, full bottles of beer, full bottles of canned beer. I mean, you name it, I have pulled it out of that creek. Pots, balls, you name it. I keep it clean because I don't like the sanitation problem. But I'm told it's mine. I'm located, this house on the west of me. The water comes down, it comes just right through the corner of their yard, which comes in my yard, which just adds more. But as soon as it comes past their yard, then my yard just floods. The neighbor on the other side, he's just at the right angle where it just kind of curves off and goes around him. But my yard has dropped about this far. I'm paying house payments on yard that I don't even have anymore back there. Are they gonna be working on stuff like that?
They will not. So I will give you my card and we'll talk about that a little bit later. That's fine.
Because it's, you know, it's bad. My yard,
Yeah.
I have some trees that the roots are totally uncovered now
Yeah.
because the water went down.
We'll connect and I'll talk to you a
And
little
I
bit further
realize
about
it's
that.
my part, but my problem, I don't know how to do it. I
Yeah.
bring in the shovels.
No, I understand. Yes.
Can you all hear me? I'm talking on my phone from out of state.
North Oak.
What's that?
Any more about North Oak?
Hello?
Recall.
Hello?
Can't really- We'd have to look specifically at that, but we can let you know. Oh, I see. I see. Okay. North of 112th, is that what you're saying? Okay. Did you have another question?
Yeah, we could expect our water bill skyrocket because of this project.
No, this is a project that's, it's not specific to this neighborhood as far as any costs go. This is a citywide, enterprise fund that pays for these improvements along with all the other improvements we do, within the
Thank you.
system. Yeah,
Are the homeowners gonna be responsible for the lateral connections to the sewer line?
the homeowners are responsible now, but where we have those that are identified to be repaired as part of this, because we've done the investigation and see that it's collapsed, or when we do a repair in the line, that we have to restore that lateral connection. So those individual, I think there was 150 of them that you identified, will be part of that. The other, hundreds that are in this project area, those are the responsibility of the property owners, but we didn't see any that needed to be addressed that are outside of these. So
So
I don't know if
the
any-
restoration of this liner and the restoration of the lateral connections for this project is not gonna be on the homeowner?
yeah,
Okay.
anybody else?
So two
Oh,
questions.
sorry.
Through the police piping typically puts off a really heavy chemical smell during the process, during like associated with that, or you can do anything to mitigate that.
You do anything to mitigate that? I guess, it does, there are certain, odors that come up with that curing. We do not have any information that it is harmful, and we've, looked into lots of, documentation about that, so, we could talk further about that if you'd like. I think in general, though, lots of times you won't.
Intensively, so I just thought it'd be valuable for everyone.
Yeah, and
It's gonna put off smell.
it will put off a smell. In some cases, it's stronger than others, and lots of times that has to do with whether or not you have your traps full and your cleanouts and other elements within your house or on your property built so those odors don't get back into that. So that would be a good thing to do, is check your traps, your drains, and other things that haven't had water in them for a while, floor drains. Make sure you've got some water in those to make sure no odors do come back into the house.
The second question is, if your lateral is replaced, what kind of warranty comes with that?
Well, there is
If it fails in 6 months,
there's a 2-year project warranty with the contractor on the work. So they will be responsible for that within that period. If there's something identified after that, that'll be something that the city will have to weigh in on at that time. Any other questions? Yes.
One of the things that you had mentioned on a slide was that because of these issues, you have been unable to keep up with the sewer costs on our bills and things. Will that be going up once you all get done?
Well, as we've planned out and projected over the next many years, we've projected a 6% increase in our wastewater rates. John, you might be able to help me. It's over the next, and
It's through 2035.
2030.
The consent decree modification was negotiated with EPA and the Department of Justice in March of last year. Purpose was to lower the investment required through year 2035, which is what happened. Originally, the investment was 4.6 billion, it went down to 2.3 billion. What went down with that was the projection of future rate increases. So our rate increases will be a maximum of 6%, but could vary between 2 and 6 each year over that period of time. Whereas if they hadn't done that negotiation, they would have been much higher to fund the investments that were required.
And just so you're aware, John is, John Bruce is with Burns and McDonald. He's works with the city as a program manager for Smart Sewer program. Thank you, John. Any other questions? I think with that, if you have any specific questions for your property or project area, we've got plans. I forgot how you said, Deborah, did you?
Oh,
talk
the
about
the west is over.
The west side's over here and
That table.
the east side's over here. So depending on where you live, that might be a good way to start it off there. And thank you again, everyone, for coming out. We appreciate it so much. And please connect with our website and the project information that will be coming to you.